Oh,
Damn.
wow. All right, now we got it. Cool. All right, good deal. I know how to do it on my phone. I don't know if there's a way to do it on the laptop. I'm like playing around with it. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm doing this
Yeah,
correctly.
I'm all set up on my computer. I thought that was gonna be through the computer.
Yeah. I was just like, yeah, I've been told there's ways to do it on the laptop. I just don't know how you do it. So I'm just going to do it on the phone, and I'll go like that for now. I think that's a little bit easier. So, but yeah. So, all right, I'm going to get a light on here in the back. It's make this a little bit easier before we start. All right.
How's my quality? Is it coming through?
Yep.
Good.
Yep. You're good. Okay. We can go ahead and start. I just want to introduce Gus here. Gus Vargas is the owner of Structura Body Therapies, and he's kind enough to join us here today and talk about what they do and the services they provide. So Gus, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what you do and what Structura does and all different services you guys provide.
Absolutely. So we're Structura Body Therapies. I'm the owner, manager, and importantly, also a client at our location here at in 95. So 2 stops before Mount Charleston.
Okay.
And we've been open for 2 years. Basically, what we do is we help athletes stay pain-free, functional, and also improve better athletically. And we do this using only natural, effective modalities. Right? So no surgery, no injections, no pharmaceuticals. Right? So that's basically it.
Okay. So with what you do, so I guess so how did you say you were a patient first? You had told me that. So explain how you got into it from being a patient to then owning it.
So I come from the IT world. I've been there for 3 decades.
Okay.
And I was working at Scientific Games near the Strip. And as much as I enjoyed the job, it was very interesting, very demanding. It was stressful, right? So to keep my sanity, I was doing boot camp in the morning, 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Did that for 6 years straight. Loved it, right? Hang out with my peeps, running around, competitive, racing each other, until I couldn't. My shoulder just started killing me out of nowhere. To the point where I had to stop working out. And anyone that knows me, and I'm sure your athletes can connect with this, is when you compare me working out to me not working out, right? I like this guy better.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I was bummed, right? Now my quality of life is impacted. So that started my 18-month journey to try to get my shoulder addressed, right? So I did all the conventional stuff. I did a year of massage, 10 chiropractic sessions. When that didn't help, I went to see my physician, who sent me to an orthopedic surgeon, who sent me to 3 months of physical therapy. And after I was done with therapy, my shoulder wasn't hurting during the day, but I still couldn't put a load on it without it getting in pain. So I went back to the orthopedic surgeon, and he gave me the option for surgery. And I'm glad he wasn't pushing it on me and gave me the option, because I was like, in my mind, I got into the problem without surgery. It makes sense that I should be able to get out of it without surgery.
Sure. Yep.
Right. And I was fortunate enough during a Ragnar trail race in Zion. I know some of your listeners might be familiar with them. It's trail running up in Zion. I bumped into this company called Structura Body Therapies, and they were doing free 8-minute massages. Gave that a swirl, and right away I felt like this doesn't feel like massages. This doesn't feel like anything I've received before. I talked to the owners right there about my shoulder issue, and they told me, hey, we think we can help you. Come down and visit us in Ogden, Utah, which is a 7-hour drive. And so my wife and I took up the opportunity. We went to visit them, and I tell you, in a few days, they did what I couldn't do in 18 months.
Wow.
We were so blown away, so impressed, that we decided, hey, we need this in Las Vegas. So I quit my job, took my retirement savings, and opened up a local clinic.
Wow. So what did they exactly do on your shoulder? If you can, kind of go through kind of some of the work that was done to help your shoulder.
Right, and that's an excellent question. And now me being on the other side, right, being in the company and the organization and
Yep.
seeing how they operate, I now understand what the secret to the success is, to the impact. And
Mhm.
it's because we work on fascia, right?
Okay.
Now, some of your listeners might know what that
Yeah.
is, some of you don't. So,
A lot of them probably don't. So
okay,
you could
so
explain what that.
fascia is fibrous connective tissue that surrounds each muscle fiber throughout the entire body, from your skin down to your bone,
Yep.
throughout your body. Now, what's special about fascia is, as opposed to bone, as opposed to muscle, muscle is local.
Hmm.
Fascia is global. It is throughout your entire body and is completely connected. So it's like a
Yep.
3D bodysuit.
Yep.
And one of the secrets of why I was not getting the results I was looking for with conventional medicine was because they're still using a 500-year-old model where
Yep.
it's
Yep.
muscle based. This muscle flexes, this muscle extends, right? Where with fascia, you have to look at the entire body. You
Hmm.
know, when I was going in for help, when I tell them, hey, my problem's in my shoulder, guess where the focus was?
On the shoulder.
Shoulder,
Yep.
right? Where when you look at fascia, it's the body's more complicated than that, right? And you can see, okay, we see there's an issue in the shoulder, but we're seeing restrictions here, right, that
Yep.
are impacting your shoulder. So in order to deal with the shoulder, let's go to the root cause, right?
Yep.
Let's work in this area. And they were able to do that with me, and the impact was instant. I was like, oh, this is it.
Yep.
I was able to tell very quickly how effective it was.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, people with you years ago, they didn't. The medical community didn't even really pay attention to fascia. I mean, it was just. I mean, you look at anatomy charts. Even if they had to put fascia on anatomy charts, it would be covered everywhere. I mean, you'd have to cut away all the fascia to see the muscles because it's everywhere. Like you said, in the body, it represents 20%, like you said, of the body weight is fascia. So that's
And you explained it. I mean, you just said it right then and there, right? They were taking the blade and they were cutting out the muscles, but guess what they're cutting through in order to get to the muscle?
the fascia. Yep,
Fascia,
that's right.
right?
Yep.
So a lot of the advancement that we have currently is attributed to a anatomist called Tom Myers,
Hmm.
where he came out with a book, Anatomy Trains,
Hmm.
where instead of going down with the scalpel, he went sideways, right? So instead of that muscle to bone relationship, he
Hmm.
was looking at muscle to muscle relationship,
Uh-huh.
right? And he's able to see, okay, this is a different way of looking at how the body operates. So
Sure.
now you see these how muscles work together, right? And you see these tension lines running through the body.
Hmm.
Right? So that's the secret to our success.
Okay. So now, like when you people have issues with the fascia, now that can people think of tight muscles, but the fascia which is like you said surrounds everywhere, including surrounding the muscles. That can be tight as well, and a lot of people don't think of that. They think, oh, my muscle tight, but the fascia could be tight, and you could also be developing what they call adhesions on the muscles, which will limit the muscle's ability to function and not just recruit the muscles, but get the right muscles working and limit your strength because you can't maximally use all those muscles correctly.
Right. And there's many reasons why a person would have fascial restrictions, adhesions, right?
Okay.
Well, the fascia is very protective, and thank God for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Any impact that it feels, it will protect itself, be it by you're in an accident, right? Car accident, fell off your
Sure.
bike, hit your head, right? It's going to protect, lock up,
Yeah.
right? Or you injure yourself during an exercise. Well, guess what? It's going to protect itself, right?
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
going to lock up that area,
Tighten up.
restrict motion. Next thing you know, not only is it impacting that area, but it's now your other side has to compensate, right? So now you're creating issues on
Now
that
creating
side.
imbalance there. Yep.
Right. So we really want to get to the root cause, get to that initial adhesion, right? Open up the body, open up the functionality so that we can restore that balance. and get you performing more optimally.
And for people listening, adhesions basically will develop over time. I mean, if you're just exercising over time, repetitive movement patterns, doing the same movement pattern over and over again, just exercising in general for a long time, I mean, you're going to start to develop these adhesions. And so it's I mean, people are going to have them ever. So this is not just specific to maybe just athletes running, but it's everyone can benefit from it.
Right. One of the most beautiful things we do is watch children work out, because you don't see anything. They got full functionality, full motion.
Yeah, because their body hasn't developed those yet. Exactly. They haven't had the wear and tear on the system. So, yeah, I mean, so I guess take me through, or take everyone through what someone comes into the facility, what kind of the normal protocol is, and what you guys follow through.
I'm sorry there, Dan. I had a phone call come in, and I didn't get to from airplane.
That's okay. I got you back.
Oh no, I can't do that. That'll mess us up. All right, we'll just keep going then.
You're still in. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. I was just gonna say, take us through what if someone comes into your facility, what the protocol, what they go through, what's the process.
All right. So when we have a client come in, we have them fill out health paperwork, right? We want to know what past health issues, trauma, they've surgeries, modalities that they've dealt with. And we also want to know what the goals are. What is it? Because everyone's different. Everyone's in a different space, right? How can we be of value, right? We get that off of the health paperwork, right? Then we have a conversation, get to see what we're trying to achieve and how we can be of value. And importantly, we have education on fascia, right? Some people know what it is, some people don't, right? We talk about education about fascia because it is the foundation of how we operate and how we get results. After we've done that, then we do a postural assessment. We love using posture because you can see issues before they occur, imbalances in the body through posture.
Yep.
And we do that from a 3D perspective. We have clients come in, they have elevated shoulders, forward head.
Yep.
Their feet are pointing in different directions. Right. And that brings up a point. When I talk about posture, I talk about the entire body in the 3D space. Sometimes, if you talked to me about posture 5 years ago, I'm thinking about standing up straight, eyes forward. Posture is the entire body.
Yep.
Where your joints facing, pointing, where in space are they located at? Even where your hands are they facing forward or are they facing this way?
Sure.
When we do the assessment. Right. So that tells us a story there. After that, we do a functional assessment. Right? What movements can you do?
I just want to say I went through this because I was down at Structure last week on Thursday, and one of your therapists, Crystal, put me through everything. So I'm familiar with all this, and so I'll chime in on some of the parts that I know about as well too, because I can experience some of it firsthand. So, but go ahead.
All right. So yeah. So you went through all those parts. Another part that is, if someone comes in and they've dealt with like an acute issue.
You can go back to the functional part. I kind of cut you off right there. I'm sorry, but that's
no worries.
That's basically
no worries.
like a movement. She'll have you do different. It'll have you do different movements to see how your muscles are working and so forth.
Right. We look at the range of motion, also in the quality of movement. There's a difference between someone coming up straight and someone coming slowly, and then they move it a little bit in this direction.
Yep.
All right. We look at the quality, and so we do the functional movement assessment. And if someone is dealing with potentially an injury, we also can do orthopedic tests.
Okay.
We like it when everything's attached to the body. And it also lets us know we're in a good space for us to help you, or you might want to seek a medical professional for what you're dealing with, right? So it protects the client and it protects us.
Sure, sure. And so then after that, after the functional testing's done,
Right. So after the assessment is done, the orthopedic, the functional, the postural, then we have, we are in a good situation to say, okay, this is what we're seeing, right? And this is the impact that that's having for what you're trying to do.
mm-hmm.
Here is a plan that we have to move you forward, right? A lot of times we see people in the pain space,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we're about helping people become better humans, right? Being
Sure.
more functional, right? So let's get you out of pain, right? Then let's get you more functional,
To
right?
do
Let's get
everyday
you
activity,
performing,
stuff
right?
like that.
Let's take it all the way back because when you're in pain, you're in 70%. You're already 70% into the issue. Let's reverse it. Let's get it back to, hey, I'm not in pain. All right, you're 50% of the way. Okay, now let's get you functional. Let's reverse it back. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's work on becoming better human beings so that we can get in positions that we need to get into for whatever event, sport, or quality of life we're looking for.
Sure. So now when they start getting into the when the fascia part, then so when I had Crystal, one of your therapists, started working on me, basically, I guess, kind of explain how that works and what they're doing there.
All right, so we have 6 different ways to impact the fascia,
Okay.
tools, modalities. But if I had to sum it up, really, we attack it from 3 directions. One is the fascia body work. That's hands-on. That's the therapist going on there, getting onto the body, using their hands, using their knees to get change out of the fascia.
Mm-hmm.
In one session, I've had a therapist move my quad from like one side to the other. It just like blew my mind that my body was so malleable.
Yep.
Right. And that was needed because I had external rotation on my femurs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm running like this.
You're rotating out. Yep.
Right. And I couldn't run further than 3 miles before my knees shutting down. It was a painful experience. Without fail, 3 miles. And by helping make that adjustment, now my feet are facing this way. I can go on forever, right?
Yeah.
Knees not a problem, right? So that's one strategy. Second strategy is custom repatterning. That is when we then provide you a series of exercises, 4, 5, 6 exercises that help restore balance into your fascia. Sometimes our joints are out of place because there's imbalance between opposing muscles.
Yep.
Right? We have to then go in and tell some muscles to, hey, you're too short, lengthen, relax.
Yep.
And then tell the opposing muscles, okay, you guys are not doing your jobs, get stronger.
Yep.
There's some repatterning exercises that are very focused, but are simple, but very focused on targeting specific muscles
Mm-hmm.
so they can strengthen and restore balance. And then the third strategy is mobility, right?
Okay.
We have mobility tools and we show the client how they can use these tools to lengthen fascia, lengthen the muscle area,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they can restore balance. And they also target the joint capsule, which is tissue surrounding the joints. And
Mm-hmm.
up to 50% of restrictions can be found there. So we make sure that we create some space there in the joint. So fascia body work, custom repatterning, and mobility work are the 3 major strategies we use to enact change in the fascia. And each one by themselves very effective,
Mm-hmm.
but by having all 3 of them together, it really increases our success.
Yeah, because like what I'll do with my clients, I mean, I'll do a postural assessment and then I'll do, we'll look for different areas. We'll do a movement analysis and see, maybe what areas might be tight, what areas may be weak. And like you said, with the obviously I don't do the fascia. I'm not trained in that, but with, like, say, when you said like the repatterning, kind of similar in a sense of some of the things that I do with workouts, and that you can do is that you basically, if you got an area that's tight, like say the internal rotators and the front shoulders, the pecs, the lats that are tight and they're rounding the shoulders forward, usually have an opposing muscle that's weaker. And so you have to basically teach that muscle to get back working again, because when you have an area that's really tight, the opposing area tends to have a harder time activating and using. So basically, I guess what you're saying with the repatterning is you're teaching that muscle again how to use the right recruitment pattern to use those muscles correctly.
Exactly. Like the mobility and the fascia body work is us coming from the outside in,
Okay.
where custom repatterning is from working from the inside out.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
The
That makes perfect sense.
The muscle has to be strengthened, the brain has to be trained on how to recruit those muscles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like for example, I had to go through repatterning exercises for my forward head,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I spent a lot of work on my shoulders, making sure that the scapulars were connecting, arm circles, how to extend my
Sure.
arm
Yeah.
to open it up. And it's basically the same stuff, as a personal trainer, you get to see
Mm-hmm.
on a regular basis, right? So like that video you put out, the shoulder external rotation,
Mm-hmm.
you're focusing on recruiting those muscles, turning them back on, getting them
Yep.
strengthened so that you can restore that balance and get the client to a good space.
Sure. Sure. Now, what are some of the more, I mean, I talked about the shoulders. I think that's an area that's common. You talked about the head. What are some of the, I guess, the main areas that you tend to see? I know with clients, I tend to see the same stuff over again: tight hips, tight ankles, tight front shoulders. What are some of the areas you tend to be more common that issues that people have?
We see it all. Shoulders definitely. Lower back, a lot of that,
Oh,
and
yep,
the reason
yep.
be, the lower back, and when you look at the fascial lines,
Mm-hmm.
it hits multiple lines go through the back,
Okay.
right? So it is vulnerable to impact from multiple directions, right?
Okay.
So that's common. Knees, ankles, lack of mobility in the ankles,
Mm-hmm.
right? We got the hip, anterior pelvic tilt, very
Yep.
common.
Then that's
Uh,
for people that don't know. That's when your hip flexors, which are like the top of your thighs, they do the motion that lift your leg up or drive your knee forward towards your chest, like if you did a reverse crunch for an abdominal exercise. Those are areas that tend to get tight, and what happens is it tilts your pelvis forward, and what's what they call an anterior pelvic tilt, and it can mess with your whole body alignment and posture.
Definitely. And, we focus on the physical realm, right, when it comes to the body, because it's very straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
right? But, posture can impact, I mean, fascia is responsible for the position of your organs, right? And something like anterior pelvic tilt, the pelvis is like a bucket holding your organs,
Yep.
right? If that's tilted in a direction, right, you got organs falling on top of each other.
Sure.
What impact does that have on your digestive system, right? That poses good questions there.
Yeah, and so it's so basically, what you're saying is it's more than just maybe what people would see on the surface. Oh, okay, I want to not be in pain, or I want my muscles to function correctly. I want to try and restore some mobility, but it goes deeper than that.
Right. It's like, nutrition. Lord knows what issues you're dealing with nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you get it clean, get it good, and then watch and check to see what's impacted by it. And you'll probably be surprised. I didn't know how much of who I was based on what I was eating.
Sure.
Me being hangry, me having headaches, you know, I take care of I clean up my nutrition, all of a sudden these things disappear and I'm almost a different person, right? Same with posture, you know. The spine is impacted by the posture, right? And the spine, right, it's like a tube that feeds the brain in terms of nutrition and of the fluids that the
Mm-hmm.
brain is basically floating in synovial fluid, right? Bad posture, it's like kinking the hose, right? What impact does that have, right? So it's something that it benefits everyone, right? And it's highly recommended. Check your posture.
Yeah, and what you're doing too, which is good to know, is that this isn't just the fascia release. This is a multifaceted approach that's involved, like I said, the repatterning, the mobility training. So it's in work with posture and the fascia. So it's not just one thing you're working on. And then not only is it not just one thing you work on, you're going to get benefits in multiple different areas too, besides just, like I said, besides just maybe being pain-free and having more, mobility and, use of your muscles.
Right. It's just one of the things that just makes sense, right? Take care of your posture, get yourself good physically in a 3D space, and then see what the impact is. It's going to definitely going to increase your performance. It's definitely going to increase your quality of life, and all the side benefits that come from it.
So, I mean, I could definitely, well, Crystal worked on me. She wasn't even working. Like, what's funny what you're saying, go back to an area that maybe you think, oh, this is my shoulders, this is the problem, it's my shoulders. It may not be that exact area, maybe something else. Like Crystal was working on my hip because I have a bad right hip condition. She was working on my upper back, or actually probably more just mid back and the lower back. And I got up and I wasn't even trying, and all of a sudden my shoulders are back in proper posture. I had my shoulders retracted back, they weren't rounded forward, and I wasn't even trying. That was just naturally. And I was just like blown away. I was like, wow, I'm not even trying, and my posture is already better after one session.
Yeah, and the impact per session, right? It takes multiple sessions. As much as we would want to, hey,
that's good you're saying, because I was going to get
session,
into that, how it works, the whole process of how many sessions and how long and so forth.
right? And it depending on what we're trying to achieve, it'll take multiple sessions. But you can feel impact just with one session.
Sure.
I had a session with one of my therapists the other day because I've been having challenges. I've been noticing there's a difference in tightness between my left and right leg. Like the definition, you can actually see the definition of my calf on my right and not on my left. And it was impacting my runs, my speed time, my performance. And I had one session, had a 5K test for speed, for time. And by the time I was done, I was like, whoa, okay, this feels a whole lot different. Now it feels more balanced. I may perform better. And now it's not, I wasn't putting the strain on one side. Now I felt more balanced and not as painful. I was like, oh, wow, I'm glad to have that session.
Yeah, and it's just one time. I mean, that's I was telling you the other day. I mean, there's a top strength coach that used to be one of the best in the world, Charles Poliquin, and I've been an admirer of his work for years. And he had a friend, Milo Sarchev, who was once a top bodybuilder, and he was having a lot of shoulder pain, and he couldn't even do any exercise, at least any like pressing movements, without excruciating pain in his shoulders. And he went to orthopedic, and they told him they needed to operate on him. And Charles said, why don't you go first to one of the guys that he really likes that does a lot of fascia work, and go see him. And he went and saw him, and the guy worked on him and says, all right, why don't you go, try working out, see how it feels. Pain-free. He went back for another session, pain-free again, and didn't have to go through the surgery. Just like kind of similar to what they had told you needed surgery at first, and then you went and got work done, and it was, it turns out the surgery was unnecessary.
Right. I'm a fan of anything natural, right?
Sure.
I come from the IT world, right? And we all we're doing every day is troubleshooting, right? Problem this, problem that.
Yeah.
One of the rules that we had was, if you're dealing with a problem, try the easy, cheap fix first.
Sure.
Right? Don't change out the whole server if all you need to do is change out a chip, right? It's the same with this, right? Somebody working on you, you doing some exercises, you taking on a mobility tool and sticking it in the back of your knee. That's easy stuff, non-evasive.
Yeah.
If you're having an issue, try that first, right? Before doing something more evasive, injections, something more expensive, stem cell therapy or surgery. Try the easy stuff first. And I consider this stuff in that category.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, that's, and something like I said, I mean, you don't have to go through the painful rehab process or all the other, because anytime you're going to have the surgery, there's going to be some type of limiting effects from it, whether you have, spines fused, or you have, you know, they're shaving off part of your bone in your shoulder, and it's going to limit your range of motion and the muscles that you can recruit. So when you're, like you said, you're doing, you know, therapies that are getting you back to health. They're not limiting you. It's not a surgery. It's basically just, you know, corrective work for the body, I guess, the best way to describe it.
Right. There's a place and time for surgery.
Sure,
but
sure.
You want to try everything before that, right? Because then potentially the biomechanics are different, right? You're dealing with scar tissue, right? You're cutting into a compartment, right? You lose pressure when you do that, right? So what you find with us, we're incredibly motivated to do everything possible before that is needed, right? And most of the time, you know, we're happy to say we can get the results done to the point where the client says, you know what, I'm good. You know, I'm in a really good space.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, this is you know, the fascia is kind of a newer thing in the fascia work, is kind of a newer thing in the field of health and fitness, but it's growing. There's so many more people that are learning about it and taking advantage of some of the benefits of it. Why don't you go ahead, Gus, before I close it here, why don't you kind of give everyone just where you're at again, your contact information, if anyone wants to reach out and take advantage of your services.
Absolutely. So we're located at Ann and 95, so not too far from Trader Joe's, the Centennial area. And we have a website. It's www.structurabodytherapies.com. And Structura is spelled without, and it's like structural, but without the L. So structurabodytherapies.com. And the easiest way to start the conversation with us, you know, is to get a free consultation. We provide free 45-minute consultation where we basically go over what we just talked about. We do the assessment. We do the functional movement assessment. It's free, right? So now you can see where you're at posturally, functionally, right? Then that helps you make a decision. Okay, this is where I'm at. This is what I want to do. Right? For the goals that I'm trying to achieve, for the life that I'm trying to live. This is what I'm trying to do. And we can make a recommendation how to proceed. And more importantly, it starts a conversation and you get to see where you are fascially, you know, the assessment.
Gotcha. Well, you know, like I said, I was there on Thursday. You guys, you know, made me a believer. I had heard about different fascia work and techniques, and it definitely, you know, worked, and I was very impressed. So I would definitely recommend it. But just want to thank you again, Gus, for joining us, and maybe we can have you again on some time and you know, talk about some different topics that maybe we didn't get a chance to cover, or maybe I wanted to mention, but I'm not remembering right now, and maybe we can have a round two.
No, I appreciate it, and I thank you for reaching out for me, Dan, because in my mind, this stuff is a no-brainer, right? It's just a question of education, right? And having these type of conversations with you and with your followers, that helps, you know, with the education and expand the understanding of, hey, you know, fascia is important. Take care of it, and it'll take care of you.
Yep, I agree. It's definitely a big part of it that we're just now understanding, and I think I'm very interested to see what the information is going to come out and how much more we're going to learn about it in the coming years, because I think it's only going to grow, and the amount of you know, benefits that people are going to get out of it are just going to increase.
Something that we can do, if you're open to it, is I can provide a link to a really good video. It's like 45 minutes long, but any athlete that watches that will be so far ahead of the rest and understanding how the body operates just from that. It comes from Germany. They have a public broadcast system. They created the video, and it shows what the fascia does, the understanding that we currently have scientifically of how it operates, and again, it'll just take you to a different level in terms of understanding how your body operates. So
no, that's great. Why don't you do that? We'll provide it in the group here if anyone wants to take a look at that and gain a little better understanding of everything we were discussing here today.
You got it.
Okay, thanks again, Gus. I appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, Dan.